Hello, YouTube world. What is up, everybody? How y'all doing? Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday Night Live stream. I can't go a full hour tonight, and I'll tell you why. In about half an hour, there is going to be a battle between DJ Premier and the RZA to see who is the supreme producer. Basically, if you don't know who the RZA is, if you don't know who DJ Premier is, Google it, but you won't give a shit anyway. But this is going down on Instagram Live, on DJ Premier's IG Live at 6 my time, and I do not want to miss it. I've been amped for this all day long. But how y'all's doing? Hi, everybody. Hello, friends. I hope you guys are doing well. It is, another day in the apocalypse, right? Yeah, spontaneous. Premier, long story short, he is one half of Gangstar, R.I.P. to Guru, the MC of Gangstar, and the RZA is the Abbott. He is the producer behind Wu-Tang. He also is an MC. You've heard him on tracks as well, but he's primarily the man behind all of the beats. Hey, y'all. So listen, we're talking about Ellen tonight. Although, did y'all hear that Tara Reid, Joe Biden's accuser, or one of Joe Biden's accusers, she actually filed charges against him in Washington, D.C.? This came out a couple days ago. It's still being completely ignored by the media, but she did file charges against him. None of the news outlets are talking about it because they're still protecting this unfit embarrassment of a Democratic Party presumptive nominee. So it looks like this November, if they have their way. You guys remember To Catch a Predator? This November, it's going to be Elect a Predator because we have two. Which one's tie do you like better? I can't believe the media is ignoring it either. TEHUAAA. Joe Biden needs to go to jail, and so does Drumpf. Frankly, I think the only reason Drumpf wants another 4 is to avoid jail. And I got all kinds of crazy, for real, tin hat thoughts on how Corona, yeah, I said it, is being used as a smokescreen for a lot of things, a lot of machinations going on politically. But I'm not talking about that on today. Maybe I'll do that as an IG live. I feel like that's it, even more discreet because hardly anybody follows me on Instagram. So I feel like if I'm going to get really real, at least I won't have too many randos watching. You want Cuomo for president, lovely one? Okay. Let's talk about Ellen. So for those who didn't hear, because I only heard it through the grapevine, I don't watch Ellen, but Ellen was doing an Instagram live or Facebook, who the fuck knows, who the fuck cares, but she said something along the lines of, this was a joke, and I use the term joke charitably. She said that self-quarantine is like being in jail, and then she said, I've been wearing the same clothes for 10 days and everyone in here is gay. And then I, evidently from the article I read, she then laughed at her own joke. Great joke, Ellen. Now this was at least 3 days ago, maybe more. And people are still kvetching about this. And I think the main thing is people are taking that joke, that comment about Ellen being in her lavish mansion with a pool and all these wonderful, pretty pieces of furniture and yada, 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 all this nice space, the mountains in the distance behind her. People are saying that, she had no business saying that. And how dare she, couching it in this narrative of the scolders caring about the inhumane treatment of the imprisoned. Now, listen. I know the Ellen show is still pulling ratings, but who is watching Ellen? I don't know. I feel like it's moms in the Midwest, but whatever. I don't give a damn what Ellen says or does. And the way I've set up my life, she is completely irrelevant. And most of y'all, in my opinion, most of y'all meaning the people complaining, the people who are oh, how dare you? I'm so outraged. Most of these people are not that mad at what she said. Not really. What they're mad at is the fact that Ellen in particular said it. Because I've been seeing the Shawshank memes, I'm on Instagram, and I'm seeing all these, quarantine is prison. I mean, that's the basic joke behind a lot of the sentiment that I'm seeing from tons of people. And I'm sure plenty of these same people are the ones who are so outraged by what Ellen said. So if y'all are so outraged about Ellen's unspeakable, insensitive joke, even though, again, a lot of these same outraged people have probably said the same thing or something similar about a different topic or situation entirely at some point in your life, both of y'all are tone deaf at the end of the day. Like, Ellen was tone deaf, but if you're not actually someone who is in prison or who has experienced prison, not really politically correct if you're going to try to die on that hill. Because yes, Ellen's joke, it's politically incorrect, yes. But it's incorrect in both cases, whether you're saying it about your tiny studio apartment or Ellen's goofy ass saying it about her mansion. There are plenty of people who have undoubtedly compared their self-quarantine experience to imprisonment. And here's the difference. The rest of us aren't in mansions, right? So what's repugnant to people is that these celebrities complaining about this is like being in jail and fucking singing Imagine, they think that they relate to our realities and that their mansions are the same as our shoebox apartments that we're struggling to make rent on this month and next month and the month after that. That is why people are mad. Essentially, the outrage is, you don't get to make jokes like this, Ellen. You have it too good. It's not the joke itself, it's who's making it. And that's why people are mad, at least if you ask me. Like, when you're Ellen, you realistically don't face daily adversity. I mean, Ellen arguably faces zero adversity at this point in her life, because when you have as much money as she does, she's essentially able to transcend marginalization to a large extent. Think of, like, even for people of color, think of the Smiths, Beyonce, even some of my favorite comedians, Chappelle and Rock, have both made jokes that point to this dynamic. You'll, of course, still experience some racism, some bigotry. This is America, after all. And, of course, misogynists are always going to misogynize, but I digress. Thank you, Sean Carter. Ellen hangs out with war criminals canceled. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a moment. Because when you have a life as cushy as Ellen does, you don't get to complain about things and make the same jokes that we make. You don't get to make the same jokes about suffering, even though it is also insensitive when us poors do it too. Like, it's not okay for us to do it, but it's far, far more palatable than someone as rich as Ellen doing it. When your so-called hardships pale in comparison to those of almost anyone else, you will be dragged. People will not stand for it. No, ma'am, not in this age of Black Twitter. I'm not even on Twitter, but I know all about Black Twitter, and it will not, you shall not pass. And Ellen's identity as a gay woman at this stage has no deleterious effect on her safety, her comfort, or her security whatsoever. Her money has allowed her to transcend that, which is how she winds up sitting next to war criminals like George W. Bush at a fucking football game or whatever it was. And then when people are like, what are you doing? She's like, what did I do? He's a nice guy. Like, this is how out of it she is, because she has transcended any true sense of experiencing adversity on any real level. You know what I'm saying? Ellen doesn't get to compare her safer at home experience to ours, because this really ain't a joke to the rest of us. Ellen, you are not relatable, okay? And you haven't been for 15 years, probably more than that. Don't know the real number, don't care. Ellen, you don't even fully appreciate that there are people out here who are facing financial ruin because of this crisis, and who have to choose between paying rent or buying food. While it is not the same thing as actually being imprisoned, these are real struggles that she can't fully appreciate. You know what I'm saying? People who were already living life on a razor's edge before any of this even started, you know? Things were already not great in February. And now this too. those of us whose day-to-day experiences are a rat race. The reality of being in the middle class, which doesn't exist anymore, and being poor, this is rooted in the fundamental stripping of our freedoms, and this has been the case since day none. I say all the time, the only reason I even care about money is I want freedom, and restricting our freedom is easily accomplished through eradicating the possibility of establishing generational wealth for pretty much anyone who doesn't already have it, and by imprisoning poor people within ostensibly inescapable poverty. This is by design. So I think even those of us who are the poors, even though we're not necessarily imprisoned, there's an imprisonment by them keeping us impoverished, by keeping us in poverty. And Ellen doesn't know anything about this because she's already on the other side. Thank you, Brody. Proletariat queen. We're just a bunch of serfs, man. This is feudalism. That's what America is. I mean, it is feudalism all over again. Ellen has the wealth. Ellen has defied the odds. And frankly, it's her career trajectory that allows the rich to point to her as an example of why the rest of us are too sensitive, why we're lazy, why we complain too much, we don't work hard enough. And they're therefore able to continue gaslighting us, who can't seem to get ahead with the same old bullshit bootstrap chiding. You know what I'm saying? Ellen is never going to be faced with being so desperate to earn money that she actually has to feel like she has to compromise her ethics and her morals, i.e. perhaps engaging in criminal activities that might actually land her in real prison and not her mansion prison. In fact, if Ellen ever did engage in any criminal activity, her wealth would functionally exempt her from any consequences. We see this happen all the time. Rich people don't pay for their crimes. Or if they do, it happens rarely. They're being used to make an example of them. We see this with Felicity Huffman, for example, or even Martha Stewart back in the day. They were making examples of them. Most of these crooks keep on crooking. This is why people are mad, though, in my opinion. Y'all are mad. Y'all are not mad at the joke. Y'all are mad at Ellen. You're mad that Ellen said it, not the joke itself. Kenya, as told by Kenya, she did a video about this, I want to say yesterday. Thank you, Sean Carter. Her and Anderson Cooper are the same person. Now, that's a conspiracy theory. But as told by Kenya, did a video about this, I want to say yesterday. And I had first heard about this scandal, probably midweek. And I was just honestly surprised that this story still has legs, that people are still so mad and that they're still talking about this, because the narrative of people like caring about prisoners' rights, I just don't think that's true. Twitter hive mind has a tendency to create these stories of why people are mad about something in the name of social justice, when that's really not what's happening at all. Thank you, Donnie. If you want to start your own channel, make sure you're making content that you believe in and that fulfills you, rather than trying to guess what people want to see. That is my advice. Anyway, the rest of y'all, bitching and vetching about Ellen are also laying in bed all day on Twitter, self-isolating, even though this is what everyone was doing before Shorty Row hit anyway. But they're trying to convince themselves that they're doing something by pretending they give a damn about prisoners, when a lot of these people definitely don't really. Stop pretending that you do. Those who are mad that Ellen doesn't realistically have to worry about ever being in prison, that's a real thing. It's just annoying that it's annoying that she's making this lame joke, but the joke is not the problem. It's not the message. It's the messenger. The rest of us, on the other hand, do have to face the possibility of prison time if we break the law, or even if we don't. Really works well if you're a Black person or other person of color. Don't even have to break the law to wind up in the pokey. So yeah, that's what I think. I think people are mad because in a moment of desperation, and a lot of people are having some desperate moments right now, it's not far-fetched that some of us might be feeling like we have to make impossible choices, that we have to make decisions that compromise our morals, our ethics. And indeed, those are the types of decisions that might wind us up in the pokey. But yeah, I think so many of these people who are wagging their finger at Ellen have made the same damn jokes themselves. They're just mad that they don't get to make it from a mansion. You try to catch up on this chat. Hey, Audra. Audra, I have never thought Ellen was funny. And exactly that. I think, there's a handful of people who do have friends and family members or other loved ones in prison. But I think most of the people rabble-rousing about this, they don't. And they definitely, a lot of them don't legitimately care about how this crisis is so much worse for the people who are imprisoned right now. It's fake wokeness at its worst. It is hilarious that people are shocked that Ellen is, mean is one thing, but this is just tone deaf, insensitive, and just completely oblivious. The lack of self-awareness, it's astonishing. That's an interesting point, Isabel. Yeah, I think a lot of the celebs, we always hear these statistics about how, Jeff Bezos could end homelessness in this major metropolitan city and then still have X number of hundreds of billions of dollars. And yet he doesn't do it. Even just thinking about Michael Bloomberg and his vanity fake campaign that he did in that primary where he couldn't even win a state. If he had fixed the water crisis in Flint, he could have at least won Michigan. He didn't even bother doing that. It's just shit like that that just makes it all annoying. You could have easily fixed that, Bloomberg. You could have won at least those delegates. Dumbass. Thank you, Nope Ninja. Yeah, I do think that she's extremely... I don't know. This idea that Ellen is nice is mystifying to me. It's mystifying. Yeah, lovely one. I do think there's like a nice amount of people out there who are actually trying to raise awareness about how dangerous and catastrophic this situation is in prison. But I think a lot of these people who are mad at Ellen, they're fake mad about this actual issue with the prisons. That's not even real for a lot of these people. That's my opinion. Shadow B, I wish I knew how people who had that amount of wealth are not even tempted to do good with it. Like, thank you, Kelly, for the super chat. It's astonishing to me because I live hand to mouth and I feel like I'm constantly trying to share what I do have. If I had a lot, I would share a lot. But I think that's just the way that you're built. And that's why I've alluded to this before. I don't know that uber wealth and hyper capitalism can coexist. Hey, Kelly, I don't know if being in that 0.1% of wealth, if that can exist with ethics. I don't know if those two things are compatible. Because to be able to hoard wealth to that extent, why do you have that much money? It goes back to one of the Bernie campaign slogans. There should be no billionaires, period. I agree with you, spontaneous mix. It's really just annoying, like the fake wokeness creating this echo chamber of pretending you care about something when you don't. Because if you really cared about something, you wouldn't be wasting time whining about a lame joke Ellen made. You know what I mean? You should be contacting your representatives. Who has time for this? Tracy, yeah, I text with my dad a few times a week. So far, so good. But thank you for asking. Just trying to keep an eye on the time, you guys, because I do have to jump at about 6 because I don't want to miss this showdown between RZA and DJ Premier. I agree, Stephen Harris. It's grandstanding. Oh, you guys talking about Me Too and Time's Up? Yeah, I touched on that earlier at the top of the live. You know, Tara Reid has filed charges, still waiting for a major news outlet to say shit about this. It's very weird. They're already too busy trying to establish this narrative that it's Bernie's fault that Joe loses in November. They're already working on that. They're planting those seeds. Because the day that Bernie announced his suspending his campaign, as they like to say, his dropping out, CNN and the rest of them were on immediately talking about how he wasn't nice enough to Joe in his concession. I guess you can call it a concession speech. Give me a fucking break. The lengths to which these frauds and these corrupt pundits will go seems to be endless. Kate, I agree with you. There are some wealthy people who are very into philanthropy and who, you know, donate a lot of their wealth, yada, yada, yada. I think across the board, though, that is not the majority, unfortunately, based on the things that I see. It's sad. Yeah, Fila, people use real issues to be fake offended. And I think there's so many people who are just waiting for a reason to be outraged. I say this all the time. People have these rage boners on social media where they just want to pick fights. I think people maybe have pent up aggression and they're just looking for somewhere to put it. So they're waiting for you to just say the wrong thing, to accidentally use the wrong gender pronoun, you know, like whatever it is. And then they're going to be so outraged and they're going to cancel you. And it's just tedious. It's exhausting. Y'all bore me. You bore me. Dominique, I wish. Hey, Veronica. Yeah, you and me both, Irene. I'm very over outrage culture. Isabel, this is why I stay the hell off of Twitter. Oh, Nikisha, I mean, if you watch a lot of left media here on YouTube, we are very well aware, and I say we as if I'm part of it. I just kind of do my own thing. One day I'm talking about lipstick, the next day I'm talking about corruption in the DNC. I'm unfocused. In any event, but if you watch, I talked about this last live. The Hill is great. Their daily show, Rising, with Crystal and Sagar, great show, and they covered this at length. Just the smearing of Bernie, not just on The View, but by mainstream media in general. It was happening while he was still campaigning, and it's happening now that he's done. There's people out here still blaming Bernie for Hillary losing 4 years ago. Hillary lost because y'all fucked up, not Bernie. I hear you, Irene. Yeah, I've mostly been feeling as good as I can throughout all these, God, major changes in all of our lives the past several weeks. But I gotta say, there have been down days where it tends to be the days where I have to do things like go to the grocery store and I just see how the world is so different, and you know, people are lining up, and it's just so reminiscent of people being on bread lines because we're literally rationing bread. I've been trying to buy a bag of flour for over 3 weeks, damn near a month, and I haven't been able to get it. Flour, I can't get it unless I'm going to get some bullshit like gluten-free whatever, and I want to pay, you know, $10 for a pound. I can't get regular flour. It's crazy. Thank you, Audra, for the super chat. It's a very dystopian reality, and it happens so abruptly. And as I alluded to earlier, I have so many theories on how this is being used to manipulate our democracy, to transition us to a fascist state fully. We're already halfway there. It's a lot, but we're not getting into that on today, girl. Yeah, Happy G. I mean, I think I've probably tried maybe a dozen times at this point in the past month to buy flour, and it can't be done. I can't find it. I've tried so many stores. I've even tried like Rite Aid. Gone. And there is just something so surreal, because it's one thing if you can't find like your bougie like kimchi or some like really specific product, but to not be able to get things like flour, pasta, rice, staple items, that's when you're just like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Oh, I wish I had a 22-pound sack of flour. And Gary, here's the thing, even if and when I do find flour, I don't want to hoard it because other people have probably been looking for flour too. Can I just get a little bag? Gosh, yeah, it's anytime I find something that has been in short supply, like I try not to get too much because I know other people are going to be happy they found it if I leave some for them. Jeez. All the ramen are gone. Ramen is like the Twinkie of savory foods. I bet it lasts forever, lovely one. Hermit TV junkie. That's probably a good point, but I know at 7, most of the stores are only open to seniors, which I think is a wonderful thing. Having senior hours is absolutely necessary. It makes me feel better because my mom is a senior. My dad is a senior too. He's a year older than her, but Trinidad doesn't seem to be getting hit so bad. My mom is in New York and she's in Queens, so it's scary. On top of that, my brother is asthmatic. His stepson is asthmatic. So we have like quite a lot of high risk people in my immediate family. It's pretty scary. But going back to your point about going early, senior hours are great. I do agree that not only would I need to get there early to get flour, I would need to get there the day that they're restocking the shelves. Because if they restock on Thursday and I get there Friday, I'm probably too late. All the Vienna sausages are gone too. Yeah, I noticed like when shit first started getting wiped out from the shelves, I had a hard time finding tuna for weeks. I can get it now, but even now they won't even necessarily have like all the varieties that they normally would. They'll have maybe 3 different ones, and I can get by. I eat a lot of tuna as it is. It's just a convenience food for me, but yeah, it's just it makes me feel so uneasy about the future. Thank you, Carrie. No, he cannot. That is not our fault. Biden was shoved down our throats by the DNC, and that is continuing. Yep. Yeah, the first Drumpf ad against Biden came out, and for anyone who isn't capable of critical thought and just independent thought, it's scary how effective this ad is going to be. Like, Drumpf is not going to have to work very hard at all to woo undecided voters over. And it sucks, man. Like, I don't think there's a world where I would ever condone someone voting for Drumpf, but damn, like, I just don't see a universe where Biden is going to be able to beat that man. I mean, obviously, I would never vote for Drumpf, but Biden is trash, for real. Wheat berries and blend it. Is that all flour is, natural advice? I don't even know. And I don't even have like a crazy, like powerful, actually my blender I think is kind of powerful, but it's not like a Vitamix. I feel like you need a Vitamix if you're going to try to make your own flours and stuff. It's 5:58, you guys. I'm going to jump soon, but I didn't want to miss this week with my Saturday Night Lives. I haven't missed a week yet since the apocalypse started, and I've been doing them, and I do like seeing you guys. Patreon fam, I know some of you guys are out here. Veronica, Isabel, Audra, a couple more of you guys. We are going to have our weekly Patreon family only stream on Monday at 5 p.m. So be on the lookout. If you want to set a little calendar reminder, you can do that now, but I'll put the link up tomorrow on Patreon for you guys. And the rest of y'all, thanks for hanging out with me and letting me rant about what I think is really going on with this Ellen outrage, because I think a lot of the people who are mad at her, not all, but I think a lot, A, of all, don't really care about prisoners and their lives being put at very, very serious risk right now. And B, of all, very possibly have made the same or similar jokes about self-isolation and quarantine. Y'all ain't slick. That's all I'm saying. But I love you guys. I will see you guys in a couple days. I think it's time for me to film a good old-fashioned sit-down video. I've been doing a lot of lives lately because it's been so reactionary to all the things happening, like Bernie dropping out and whatnot. But I do need to finish up my parasocialism talk with you guys, that tea talk. So that's coming soon. But until then, you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Perhaps I'll see some of you guys in the chat over on DJ Premier's Instagram with this showdown between him and the RZA. I am so excited. But thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you to everyone who chatted, who watched, and didn't chat, whatever your deal may be. And never trust anyone with a Morphe code. Oh, Buttercup Coffee, in before the lock. Thank you for the super chat. Canadian money. Never trust anyone with a Morphe code, and that is not where I will be spending that money. I always invest it back into my channel. Bye, guys.